Hi everyone, good morning. You're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, and this is Weekend Wake Up. My name is Caitlin Aristizabal, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Leslie Gallagher. And just in case you didn't notice or didn't know, Caitlin and I are both women, and it's International Women's Day soon, so we are very jazzed. And this whole episode of Weekend Wake Up will be themed around International Women's Day. And I don't know, I'm feeling jazzed because I love celebrating stuff like this, especially when we're, I don't know, maybe put down so much in society and so much is expected of us. It's nice to be able to celebrate and look back on history and how far we've come. You know,
yeah.
things aren't perfect, I'd say, for women in society right now, but especially in just looking at history, like how far we've come, and also other parts of the world have it way worse than us too, as you know, as we are women in America. Just to reflect a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And women are awesome, and we've overcome a lot, and here we are, and this is going to be an exciting episode. We have a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about, like a lot. We've got a lot of our, women segment hosts here, and our one non-woman segment host.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was just one.
I didn't realize either until I started saying it too, because last semester we had two guys, Kenny and Jake, and now it's just Jake. He's all lonely. But anyways, later on today, we'll also have a awesome interview with Tara Cicchetti to give us a trans woman perspective during International Women's Day, because if you're gonna celebrate women, we're gonna celebrate all women. All women. It doesn't count if you just celebrate, white, straight, cis women. That's not cool. We celebrate all women here, because that's the spirit of it, So I guess, Caitlin, it's time to start our show.
Yeah, let's just jump right in.
Who are we jumping in with today? Who are we starting with?
So we have Camilla and Isa here to start the show. Very exciting.
And they're looking to inspire us. Is that what we're doing?
Well, hello. Yes, today we are very excited to have come together to work on this beautiful segment with myself, Isa from Wellness, and Camilla from Lifestyle. Since International Women's Day is a day of combining our powers as women, empowering each other, inspiring each other, and allowing ourselves to be our best selves, we decided to share our favorite empowerment tips that will allow you to truly self-actualize and work your way up to your fullest potential. So if you don't mind, I'll kick right off with one of my first favorite habits and lifestyle tips that I feel is very important for this empowerment that all of us need. So I feel that a very big aspect that allows people to become as beautiful, as great as they do, is to set goals and have visions. Now, why is that important? Because when we go around with our daily tasks, everyday assignments, little objectives that we do, whether that's class, chores, maintenance, or just simple routines that we set for ourselves, we are often stuck in this mundane cycle and we stick in this little bubble. And if we don't have higher dreams and aspirations, life could become a little depressing, a little gray. So that's why it's important to constantly have something to look forward to inspire yourself by. Not necessarily something to keep striving or keep working towards, like a rat race, but something fun, something that really makes you feel like, wow, like I want to be alive because of this. This could be even genres that inspire you, music, people that you want to become, like role models that you want to model after. It could be different habits you want to set in, or different goals that you want to achieve that you feel like, wow, I can do this. Just to simply show yourself that you have that power and capability to do that. Now, after that, long description, I was wondering what you guys think. What are some goals that inspire you? What are some things that you will look forward to, you would be interested in doing?
Wow, what a loaded question to get us started off our morning, Isa. No, I'm kidding. A lot of things can, spark passion. I think for me, a lot of it is my media-related goals, how I've always wanted a career in media, and how whenever I'd say that to people, especially in high school, they're like, oh, this is going to be really hard. Especially, I used to really want to do film, and everyone would always be like, oh, it's really hard for women in film. I'm like, yeah, I know, and I want to prove people wrong. Like, that's part of the whole point. And one day, if it's ever possible, I'm going to work my hardest. I do want to be a screenwriter. That is like probably my number one goal of what I'd want to be. And even for a long time, I did actually like come and sketch to me about it too, where people say it's really hard for women, or just even in general, even for like a really talented guy, it's really hard to, get your way into Hollywood and stuff. But I decided not to care anymore and just put those comments aside and do my best,
Just as a tip that I notice is, especially when you get these down comments, this negativity coming your way, it's important to have that goal or that vision that inspires you to be stronger than that. So that's really a test.
Okay.
But it's just good to remember, like, if you find yourself being put down, that means your vision isn't strong enough and doesn't inspire you enough. So you just gotta fuel it a little more. It's just a good tip in general to remember.
Oh, it's so right.
Definitely.
It's so right. When the comments would start getting to me so much that I stopped even trying at some point. I stopped, taking film classes. I was like, I'm just going to do public relations instead. So many women are in that. That's easy. And it wasn't all about being a woman, but that was definitely part of it,
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes people's comments get to you really easily. So I think the moment you stop caring what people think, it really makes a big difference. And like Issa said, you got to stay focused on that goal to keep you going. But I was thinking, I thought career goals too, but also just like little goals throughout the day. If I finish an assignment earlier than I wanted to, just kind of accomplishing those small things every day, I think that makes a really big difference, and it kind of keeps motivating me to keep going or just stay positive throughout the day.
That can be a big confidence boost too, just like getting something done and then you're just like, woo, I can do more. Like, let's keep this going. Like, that's how I feel.
I was going to say, it's that main vision that usually should motivate you and also should like help you keep going. So it's not that like, oh, I did this thing, now what? It should rather be like, oh, I did this, great. Oh, I can do this now. It's like, then again, like have something that motivates you, but make sure it's not like the go to the moon and back phenomenon that like, you've been to the moon already, what's next? Like always make sure that like it's fueling you and it's fueling your dreams, your aspirations, and everything you're doing.
For you two, Issa and Camilla, what are your, goals that keep you going or things that inspire you guys, you girls?
Well, being a very artistic soul, I was always inspired by, I don't want to be like, oh, art, but creative ways people show their talent, whether it was
art. I love art.
Okay, no, that's a good thing. It just many people, they don't understand that, like, oh, what do you mean by art? Well, by art, while there are many pieces of like, beautiful pieces of art, such as paintings, like, yeah, film is considered an art too. I love it how people, they get creative. They're not scared to express themselves through, creativity in general. Therefore, it's like seeing forms of creativity, whether it is, through forms of art like that, through dance, through a song. That's what really motivates me. And it motivates me as an artist to also think creatively and create creatively, if that makes sense. Like think outside the box.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get you there. I have a whole class called creative thinking.
I
awesome.
took a class. It was pretty fun.
It is really fun. And it makes you think outside the box. So I definitely get what you're saying there, Camilla. Like, I love to paint and draw, even though I suck at drawing. But, that's okay. What about you, Issa? What inspires you?
Oh dear. Well, I have to say, I always loved being in front of the camera. I always liked expressing myself, storytelling, just giving an amazing performance. So I always loved to go on to enhance myself to see how far can I go. Yes, I was always interested into becoming a film actress or a journalist on TV or a television host, because I was always wondering, how far can I push my performance? How much could I go into this? How far could I really develop my career, just like you, Leslie, with media? I wanted to go in that direction and create content and produce, like I said, these stories, these amazing journeys, and just really express myself truly and naturally. Outside of that, I am also very much into health and wellness. I recently started getting good. Yes, very much. You can see by my history here with Weekend Wake Up but I always like to look into nutrition, looked into health and wellness from a healthy perspective, and really enhance myself through it. Like I recently started strength training, and I started looking into different forms of nutrition and what's important for the body. And I feel like just becoming aware of that and allowing that information and that knowledge to enhance me instead of really limit me or hinder me has really allowed me to develop and become a better person. So that's definitely something that inspires me. So not only health and wellness of my own individual person for my body, but also for my career in media and performance. So I have a few different subsidiaries to go to, but I feel that those both things fuel me and inspire me. And they also allow me to bring amazing content to Weekend Wake Up.
Oh, we love that, a little promoting our show within our show. It's true. I mean, most of the show is run by women, and that's not because, any particular reason. It was just mainly women were interested, and we keep the show running. And I don't know. I think we have a good show, guys. We're women just doing our thing.
Well, I was actually going to say, but I'm gonna go off of what you said about what inspires you. Also, make sure you have people that inspire you around as well. Have something what we like to call a power circle. Now, a power circle is basically like a team composed of your friends, your closest, like many girls have this. They have, I don't want to say like they're girlfriends, but like a group of basically friends, close ones, loved ones. They could even be cousins as long as they're close to you. But not only should you have something that inspires you, have people that inspire you as well. It has been said that the closest 5 people that you spend the most time with, like they dictate your life. Make sure you have people that are worth turning to and basically you are proud of. Now, I'm not saying basically like have perfect friends, but instead make sure that you have people that inspire you and motivate you and are like-minded like you, who like different things, who are interested in different aspects, to keep on motivating you to achieve your dreams, as well as pushing you to go farther, to not be scared to challenge your comfort zone and support you whenever you feel down.
I feel this concept of a power circle really comes into having people around you that are almost like support, strong pillars, or even safe havens that you can go to and you could speak to for advice. Sometimes if you feel down, someone to re-inspire you, because our willpower is limited, even though it could go far. But having that extra support, those extra people, and those people with these magical traits and just these aspects to the personality is something really that's going to take you far. Like they say, if you could go alone, you could go fast. But if you go in a group, you will go far and long.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, because like if you're surrounding yourself with people who are also empowered and feel motivated. I mean, we all have our off days. We don't always feel like empowered and confident and great, but if we generally surround ourselves with people who are like-minded, who have really, ambitious goals, then that can help us be who we want to be, and vice versa. It's a positive energy to be around, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah. And they always say to surround yourself with positive people too. And I think those moments where maybe you're struggling with something, you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, you'll have that support system to help get you through it, and you guys can grow together. And that's really important in life.
Exactly. These people can also be your accountability partners. Like, let's say you have a certain goal in mind, and those people can motivate you to achieve that goal, to hold you accountable towards that goal. It could be anything, whether it's schoolwork, whether it's something artistic, whether it's something with your habits. People like that, they motivate you to go farther. And it's important for them to be, once more, positive, like-minded, simply because they can understand where you're going, where you want to go, and where you're coming from, and what do you want to achieve in general. But it's always good to have optimistic people around and be optimistic yourself. You do not want to become a negative person or an energy vampire that kind of drains that positive energy from anyone. So
true. I guess I have a bit of a question for you two, because I mean, you two are sisters. Do you guys see each other as those people in your life? Like, I guess, do you see each other almost as like friends, or?
That's a tough question.
Maybe we shouldn't have asked that about sisters.
To go off of that, I must say, definitely as sisters, it's one of those amazing things, yet it is also a little bit of an obstacle, because it's almost like having a friend, but you have them with you 24/7 and you're related to them. So even if you argue, you can't necessarily break away from them. You can, but it would be very hard. And as a sister, it's someone who I have to learn to work with. It's almost like having a relationship, but you're permanently bonded through birth. While it's not a bad thing, I feel like me and Camilla do our best to work together and to really see outside of those obstacles, really help each other with our weaknesses, harbor in and cultivate those strengths, and really work together. Like, I feel that one mind is great, but having two minds on something is even better. So I feel, yes, as a sister,
Sure.
I look at that aspect in Camila. I hope you do the same for me, but I really love that teamwork.
I was going to say, as a sister, you learn to work together much more often and much more closely than anyone else, any of your friends. So you really learn, how may I say this? You really learn to be, to put your stubbornness aside and be as open-minded as possible, and especially also as tolerant as possible. But yeah, I could say, Isabella, I could consider you a part of my power circle. You are one of the closest people to me, and also I would say siblings should be a part of your power circle, but also teach them to be positive and like-minded once more, simply because they can understand you and they can motivate you, and you can do likewise. But don't make siblings your enemy. That's my main point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's, if you can keep your family in your life and if they're positive for you, you should, because you're always going to be related to that person. Friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and they friends can leave you, but your family's your family.
Yeah, of course.
And remember, remember that maybe if they're negative in the beginning, try to inspire them with your positivity. Sometimes those little sparks, those little hints and initiations of that positive, maybe growth-oriented energy could really change people's days and lives around. So don't be afraid to be the one to initiate it for your power circle, for your friends, for your family. Because even if, like I said, no one starts, but you start, you're going to become a leader and they're going to follow you. So don't be afraid to take that action and take initiative.
Yes, of course. I think that was a really beautiful note to end on. So thank you, Camila and Isa, for combining your forces today. That was a lot of fun. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thank you very much. Stay powerful, stay empowered, and stay awesome as always.
Happy Women's Day!
I'll try to stay awesome, Isa. I'll try to work on that confidence there. But coming up now, we have an interview with Tara Cicchetti, and it's a pre-recorded interview. So for those of you watching this on YouTube, yes, Kayla and I will be in different attire. But anyways, without further ado, our interview with Tara Cicchetti.
Hey everyone, Leslie and I are here with Tara Cicchetti, and we are doing our first interview for Weekend Wake Up, and we're very excited. But Tara, how are you today?
I'm all right. I'm excited. I'm not usually on the weekend buzz. This is new.
Which day are you on the morning buzz?
I'm on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
With Jaslyn.
That's a good day. I used to do Wednesdays too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Wednesdays are a good day, right in the middle of the week. Usually a weird news day too, because it's just like
entertainment news and stuff. Yeah.
Other than hosting the Wednesday buzz now, what else do you do for WMSC?
I have my own show Thursdays 2 to 3 called Stomp and Stroll Radio, where I play music and talk about stuff. And right now we're doing it from home because everybody's home. So that's taped, and that goes not Tuesdays, never mind. It goes Thursdays at 2, and it goes Monday nights at 10 because the rerun.
Is that what kind of genre of music do you guys mostly play, real quick?
Punk rock, usually. Ska punk and rock and roll is kind of the brand. And then sometimes we go like sideways from there. So it's fun.
Yeah.
You got room to move.
Oh yeah. You gotta change it up. Well, anyways, Tara is a very special guest on Weekend Wake Up today because, as you guys know, we're having a little bit of an International Women's Day theme for this episode. And we're super pumped to have Tara here because Tara brings a new perspective to this day because she's a trans woman and proud of it, I hope.
Yeah, it's it's a wild experience, but it's my truth.
Exactly. You're living your life, you're living your truth and who you want to be. And honestly, it's amazing to see. I love it, You're being you and that's you're being the most you can be. And that's definitely one thing to celebrate on International Women's Day and Women's History Month in general. So, to you, Tara, what does being a woman mean to you, especially on days like International Women's Day?
It's something that I've kind of had to figure out for myself. I don't know. Like, I think everybody, you know, it's not exclusive to trans people. Everybody, has to figure out who they are and what's important to them and what different parts of their identity mean. But as a trans woman, that's amplified even louder because trans people literally have to go out and get who we are. It's
Yeah.
not part of us. It's not something that we can take for granted. It's something we have to build up ourselves
And
and
it's
be
something you
really
have to
aware of.
discover too, which
It is. I mean, it's weird, especially when you first start coming to terms with it. It's a lot of I don't always, and again, I'm sure this is true for a lot of people in different ways, but like I don't always know where I'm going, but I know staying here isn't right. Like that's kind of how especially when I first started out, I'm like I don't. Some people come really strong with what is what do you see yourself as, and for that, so if you have that vision in your head as a trans person, God bless you. But I was never that person. I never like I never had like a clear picture of like me aesthetically or what I sounded like or even what my name was. I didn't figure that out for a while. And so it's like you said, you literally are figuring yourself out as you go. So on days like this, it's kind of just it's a lot of it's some self-reflection, look back on how far not just myself but the whole trans community has come.
yeah. May I
So
ask,
it's special.
when you first sort of discovered that you were a woman?
It's the kind of thing that you always knew but you never really had the words for, because like I mean, and some of this is just due to the way life works, right? Like as a kid, you don't know what dysphoria is. You don't know what that word means, what gender dysphoria is. You don't know why you're uncomfortable with your own body or when people say your name or put you in like, the boys line, why that like ticks in your head and it doesn't, you feel like wrong and like something's like broken in you. You don't have words for that, and it makes you feel terrible. So it wasn't until like later on, I toward the beginning when I was, you know give myself away how long I've been in college, so like 2014, when you know I started to kind of like, I had figured out a bunch of other stuff in my life, and like those feelings really couldn't, like I couldn't put them on the back burner anymore. It was the type of thing where like if I didn't deal with this, something bad was going to happen to me. I wouldn't be able to keep functioning, and not to get too heavy, but that's what it is. When it hits that point, you're just like, I have to deal with this. If A, B, and C happens, if whatever else happens in my life, it's gonna have to happen because I can't go on pretending I'm somebody I'm not anymore.
Exactly. That would just be damaging to your mental health at that point.
Yeah, and I'm in a fortunate position where I can come out, and I have, some of my family is really supportive, and it's, I really feel for people who aren't in that position, but that's something that we got to address more as whole community, not just today.
Yeah, for sure. As not even just as a holiday, but it's something that communities need to recognize. We all have a
Yeah.
place in this world, and it's just a matter of finding it. And people will judge you no matter what, but you still gotta be you, especially if you have that safe and comfortable environment where you're able to, like you said. And I guess one thing I'm curious about is, there's a lot of pressure on women in society to look a certain way or act a certain way. And I was wondering, do you feel that sort of pressure, and how do you feel it? Like, how do you think it's different for you?
I mean, I would say it's different for me, and it's also not. Like my experience as a trans woman is whatever aesthetic stuff that cisgendered women get is not like I have to look twice at everything. But that's not just the case for trans women, right? Like for big women in general, it's the industry of beauty is not something that, we could go in there and just pick stuff off the rack. Everything needs you need to have a second, third look and, make sure that you're comfortable with it. And that's, that goes double for trans women too, because, we feel it. We feel dysphoria. Should probably explain what that means, right? Dysphoria is basically just like the feeling of not being comfortable in your gender. How you're trans, essentially. It's, we feel that, and we feel, how that interacts with our self-image could get really weird because, stuff that we wear is that a cisgender woman could wear doesn't make them look like a man or quote unquote masculine, whatever that means. But for us it does, like it's stuff that I always give the analogy of like somebody who's allergic to seafood, right? Like you could have seafood and the person who's allergic to seafood could have seafood, but it's going to interact with you two very different ways. You're going to be cool with it. Cisgendered women can walk out the house in like a hoodie and jeans and no one is going to question their femininity.
Yeah, that is true.
And this is not as an insult or as like finger pointing. I'm just like explaining how, our relationship to the way we look is a little bit different because we have to think about that stuff. If I walk out there and, in just a sweater and jeans and whatever, like, how am I being read? How am I being, how am I being perceived? And that stuff messes with you. And at best, it's something that's going on in your head. And at worst, it could be something involving your safety. So, passing and stuff is something we always think about, but also like, I always thought the fashion industry and aesthetics was really one-sided. Coming to terms with how I look was always, it was, to me, it's a little bit of a not, I'm not going to wait for them to make something to accommodate me. I got to kind of find my own way,
Yeah,
it's a little off topic, but
no, for sure. See, okay, I have one question. I feel like, I don't know if this is a silly question, but I just think it's interesting. But if you had the power to completely change everyone's mind about one specific female stereotype, what would it be?
You mean trans specific or just in general?
In general.
In general, I think that to this day, there's this thing that like men are more stable,
like emotionally.
Yeah, or just in general, like, they're more centered or grounded or smarter or whatever. Like,
it's true.
That
people think that, not that it's actually
right.
True.
And I've still to this day, I remember in 2016 when the Clinton-Trump campaign was going on. I remember there were like really like specific insults about Hillary and at her femininity, like, oh, is she going to be a worse leader when she's on her period? I'm like, what is that?
I know.
What does that mean? Like, cisgender women and people who are set up with that kind of anatomy deal with that every month and are okay. Like, they are stronger than you could ever give them credit for. Like, day to day. Like, that is not even something that should be a part of the conversation. We heard it in 2016, that was recent. That people are still talking like that. So I would just, this whole thing that like, and I've heard it too about, when people trans femme people like myself start like hormone replacement therapy, like, oh, you get more emotional and get like, because estrogen is associated with being like more emotional or more like volatile. It's just this weird stereotype, and I don't get it. So I would make that go away.
I gotta agree with you there. I definitely want that to go away. That terrible stigma that like women are too emotional or not smart enough to handle
Right.
like it makes me feel almost like incompetent just like existing, and it's funny.
Which is
It's
so not true. Like,
yeah,
it's
like we know that we're competent, we know that we are capable of doing things, we're intelligent, and we we do the things that we do and we do them well. But even those comments, they still hit hard and make you doubt yourself because so many people
right.
are saying them.
And then like comments like, not to get off topic, but comments like that aren't even good for men, because then that makes men feel like if you emote and show how you're feeling, then you're part of that same weakness, and then that just makes people want to repress more, which is just bad.
Toxic masculinity and
oh yeah, that goes deep. But that would be it. That stereotype of like women being weaker because they're emotive and passionate, and or something about their biology is making them weaker. That's weird.
And what about a trans stereotype, since I know you answered like in general?
That just to trust what people identify as. Listen to trans people, okay? We've been doing gender non-conforming people go back as far as history, even if we didn't have even if we didn't have the name for it, there are people across all different, you want to go back to like the Native American idea of a two-spirit, like people who are gender variant. This is not a new thing. It is not a thing that's been generated for attention. My God, like it's just trust when trans people say they are. Just trust. Like it's not something that we take flippantly. Like it's not something that we do casually, because look at what it costs us, Yeah. So just listen when trans people, and when trans youth especially, there's this lately, and I saw this was coming out of the UK a lot too. There were a lot of organizations that were seeking to invalidate trans youth, like people, like I'm talking like people, because there are people that know from that age, right? Like, and if you're younger and you're trans, or you're not in your assigned gender, like every doubt in the world will be thrown at you. You're a kid, you don't know what you're talking about, you'll grow out of it. Like I've heard it all, and that was, so just trust, listen when trans people talk. I guarantee you the world will be a better place for it.
It's along the lines of that. I saw something on social media that said something like, even if you don't understand how people have different pronouns, even if you don't understand like what gender fluid means or whatever term means,
right,
it is not a reason to disrespect them. And if they're asking you to refer them in a certain way, even if you don't get it, you don't need to in order to respect somebody.
Right. Or like, that just listen, don't get caught up. Like I feel like, especially whenever a successful trans person, like you saw this happen with like Laverne Cox and people like that, when people start talking and having the conversation about being trans, like the focus immediately gets like surgical or like medical, or like it's focus on like, what is this? Okay, so now you said this, what are you gonna have done to yourself? Like,
people asking like personal questions that,
right, like what's between your legs? Like it's not,
they don't need to know that. That's none of it.
Just listen. I promise we're not taking this casually. This goes deeper than anything else. Like listen when trans people speak, and just give us that much,
But anyways, thank you, Tara, for coming on Weekend Wake Up today. We really appreciate it. And of course, happy International Women's Day and happy Women's History Month. Thank you
so much for having me.
Well, that was our little interview. That was really exciting. At least that was exciting for me. That was our first interview for Weekend Wake Up, so we really enjoyed that. But going from different perspectives into mental health, we have Lauren here.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So when we combine Women's Day and Women's History Month and mental health, I want to make sure that I don't divide men and women's mental health because I feel like that can create some stigmas because it's a little bit of a controversial topic. Like some people want to debate that certain mental health conditions affect either one more frequently or worse. So I don't want to get in make our discussion today controversial or create any negative stigma. But when it comes to women, I think something we can talk about is emotions and expressing them as women. Because women's mental health and their emotions are often joked about, making it hard for women to speak up and be taken seriously when their emotions are passed off as, yeah, like I can even count how many times I've been passed off as just PMSing or being dramatic. Do you think sometimes?
Whole life, and I am a dramatic person, but that's besides the point.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask you guys. Do you guys think sometimes women's mental health issues are often passed off as just being sensitive or too emotional?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they just chalk it up to, oh, it's just how she is. You know, she's a woman. She cries more, and yeah, maybe that is true. Maybe that is why, but that doesn't mean it's not important. You know?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's often just swept under the rug, like, oh, she's in a mood today, or like, what's wrong with her today? Which I don't.
That's a big one. You said she's in a mood today, and I was like, oh my, that's a big one. People like to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if someone's like in a mood like a lot of the time, that could be a sign of a mental health issue, and that shouldn't be brushed off. You know, that should be acknowledged. And you know, one thing I do want to bring up that I wanted to bring up during Isa and Camilla's segment as well is that women have to support each other. You know, I think we have a lot of, and maybe it's a little off topic. You know what? Maybe not though, because I think internalized misogyny is a huge struggle that we have to deal with, and we don't even know we have to deal with it because it's so internalized. But you have to start picking apart all these things that society told you for your own mental health and for your own sake, because there's so many times, especially online mostly, where I see women putting down other women, you know, and I don't know if you guys see that a lot, but it comes down to internalized misogyny. We have to keep each other up. I think that's one of our the episode today.
Yeah, and women are expected to withhold this perfect image and constantly be on this tightrope and on a never-ending balancing act where, not to just deem women as like just I'm using makeup as an example, but that's not like all that women have as examples.
No,
but like
that is like, a good example though.
Yeah, we're gonna spend like an hour on our makeup, but it's gonna be natural. Like I want to look really good, but I don't want people to know how much effort I put into looking good. But what's so like wrong about putting effort into how you look? And
the no makeup look that was like trending for so long, that made no sense to me as a child. I was like, what's like, I knew that there was like a stigma around wearing so much makeup, but and like correcting your face or whatever, but that's it's so silly. If it makes you feel better or more confident, then what's wrong with that? And if you're enhancing the beautiful features you already have, what's wrong with that? You know?
Yeah.
And if you want to, I love when people get real artistic with makeup and they don't care what anyone thinks, because one, I can't do that. And I just love seeing people play with color and making makeup and artistry, taking back the power of, you have to wear makeup to, okay, well, now we enjoy it because it's fun, you know?
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, actually. That's a really cool way to think about it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people take back that power, you know? Like, oh, you say makeup is, you know, I have to wear it. Well, now I want to wear it. I'm going to put rainbows on my eyelids. You can't do anything about it.
People do it as careers now.
True. Yeah, and they like, even not even just like the, you know, makeup artists at like weddings and all that kind of stuff, but you know, they become like influencers and they teach other people to do it, which, you know, is a whole other bag of worms, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, and nowadays when we I feel like we compare ourselves to men when it comes to like equality, and that's a big portion of Women's History Month, is because so much of our history has been under the shadow of men, and I feel like we're constantly trying to prove our strength, and someone somewhere deemed that emotions are weak for some reason, so we try to hide them deep inside of us, and it's another balancing act of, if you're a woman and you're trying to be strong, it's frowned upon when you let that weakness of emotion show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know they say that a lot for men is like, oh, it's weak to show your emotions, but I also feel that stigma with women too, because whenever we do speak up about something, we're told we're over emotional. And so I feel like that I mean, maybe that's a societal issue overall, but definitely plays into how we present ourselves to society.
Yeah, and I've heard recently with all the political stuff going on, I looked into that when I was writing for this segment, and CBS News reported in 2019 that 13% of Americans still have serious doubts about women's emotional stability for political office.
See, that's crazy to me too. And I think we talked about this briefly in the interview with Tara, but like to have the statistic to back it up, 13% of Americans, it's so ridiculous to think that, oh, somebody is not going to be as good of a leader when they're on their period. Like, that's insane.
That makes me want to scream. And not because I'm a woman, because I'm a person, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, like, we deal with that. It's always been something in our lives, so you just keep going. Like, it doesn't stop your whole world. It's ridiculous to think that something like that would have that much power over somebody's skill.
I know what's funny is I actually saw a TikTok the other day that was like this whole like doodle animation thing of, how women maybe get a little more emotional during their periods, and it's because of an increase in what hormone? Testosterone. Like, isn't that so ironic? Like, oh my god. Like, I was like, it was something, that information I had in the back of my head, and then when it was in that video I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah, you're so right. And I feel like we as a society have come so far when it comes to mental health, but I feel like the next step is redefining like being emotional. Like, I don't think it should be a weakness. I feel like we should learn how to use it as a strength.
I love that.
Yeah, and celebrities are a perfect example of the different stigma on women's emotional being. And a popular topic right now is the Britney Spears stuff. And I don't know if you guys watched that documentary, but even just 10 years ago, like, a woman's mental health was the headline on a magazine to make fun of her or get more sales. Like, some of the headlines were just like just she's losing her mind, or there's a Family Feud segment on like what has Britney Spears lost, and the families were like, oh, she's lost her kids, she's lost her mind, she's lost her husband. I was like, they were completely making fun of a woman's mental health condition that she's going through.
Oh my god, I didn't even know that. And that's so normalized. Most people wouldn't think twice about that. It's like,
was
of her life, and that's normal. That's what our society does.
Yes, it was insane to see how far we've come, and I'm actually really proud of us as a society, because I can't imagine people would do that now.
I hope not, man. It's funny that you bring up like women being a punchline. I don't know if you guys saw this going around Twitter the other day, is that this new show called, I believe it's Ginny or Ginny in Georgia. It's a new Netflix show, like a Netflix original, and they use like Taylor Swift as a punchline, like you go through guys faster than Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift spoke out about that on Twitter, being like, yeah, 2010 wants its sexist joke back, because I thought we were past saying it's wrong for women to have more than one partner out of what she's like. Taylor Swift is 30 now. had like a couple of partners in her life, a normal amount.
Yeah.
But she's
No,
with
it's and
comfort because
it's
she's a woman.
funny. And she's talked about that too, like just quickly, because when you said that, it reminded me of that. I don't even know what year it was, but that interview that she did, and
Oh,
and it
yeah.
was like, what would you tell your younger self? And she was like, I would tell my younger self that you're 19, you're gonna date in your 20s, but the only difference is that you're gonna be shamed for it, and like your whole life's gonna be publicized, kind of thing. And that's crazy because people date when they're young, but Taylor Swift has just been labeled as this.
Yeah, and it's because she used them in her songs, but it's like she's writing about her life, and even in another interview, or maybe even the same one, she pointed out, she was like, Ed Sheeran does that. Bruno Mars writes about his ex-girlfriends. What's the difference? The difference is she's a woman, and that's why she's made fun of for it. And she's the punchline of every joke. And I feel like it's one of those things you don't realize because it's so normalized in society.
Yeah, definitely. We still have stuff to work on, but we're getting there slowly but surely. But thank you, Lauren, for all your wonderful information as always.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. I don't know, I felt the need to do something like silly. Bye.
Okay, Leslie. So we have another fun little segment. We're actually doing more combining forces, and we have Jake and Allie here to talk about entertainment and music and all those fun things.
Oh yeah, you know how we were talking about women in media before? Well, there's a lot more to talk about. So we're bringing Allie and Jake in here.
That was a much better transition.
Fine. We just gotta learn, we learn and we grow. Don't put yourself down, girl. This is not the day for that.
Oh, you're right.
Anyway. Allie and Jake, how are we doing?
Pretty well.
Good. How are you?
We good. We chilling.
Excited.
We're vibing. I know Jake has come up with some songs about women's empowerment. Is that what you did, Jake? Blah 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 blah.
Well, I have some new music that came out this week. Mostly, yeah, it was a pretty good week for like female artists. Like there's like most of the songs I have are, yeah. But I also thought we'd have a little discussion about some of the artists that inspire us. So I'm going to start off just by talking about the new music that came out this week. Serotonin by Girl in Red is I don't know, are you guys familiar with this artist, Girl in Red?
Yeah, I've heard a few of their songs before. Definitely a good vibe from them.
Yeah. No, it's really good, this new song. It's a little intense. Like I think they get really into like their mental health stuff, and it is definitely kind of a song that expresses a lot of pain, but it's also kind of a banger, like it's there's almost a dissonance there because it's like it's kind of an upbeat song, but the lyrics are very intense. Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, but honestly, I'd actually give it kind of a content warning. It is a lot. There was also another song that came out called "Beautiful Mistakes" by Maroon 5 and Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah, I saw that duo and I was just like, That
sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
I didn't think they would collab. What's the song about? Do you remember?
Oh, no.
No? Beautiful Mistakes. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, it's a pop song. It's okay. But Megan's verse on it's pretty good. I don't know, she always delivers. And there's also Be Sweet by Japanese Breakfast, which is actually so fun.
Japanese Breakfast is the name of the
the name. So I think it's just this one lady. I don't think it's not like a band. Yeah, and this is really well produced. Like, I don't know, sometimes I listen to these songs and I'm like, how do you even make these sounds? What even is this? So yeah.
You're here to roast people again.
No, I meant it in a good way.
Oh, in a good way.
Yeah, no, because it's like whoa, like,
it makes you think. That's good.
Yeah. And there's also Musician by Porter Robinson, which is really, I think Porter Robinson's a producer, and this is really well produced, and it's very, very good. Highly recommend.
May I ask what the theme for these songs is? Are these just like new releases?
These are just the new music that came out.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just like, is there a theme? Because I wasn't sure. But it's just all new releases. That's
Yeah, no, had to get, new show, had to get it in somewhere. But now that that's done with, we can move on to the discussion. What are some female artists, musical artists that inspire you? I know for me, I feel like I've talked a lot about hyperpop on the show. Like I get a little obnoxious with it. It's like I need to chill with that a bit. But I think it's worth noting that like hyperpop is like really dominated by women. Like Charlie XCX, half of 100 Gex is Laura Lex. Like she's really great. And Sophie until recently. And yeah, no, that was something I wanted to know. But what about you guys? Or girl?
well, we already know what I'm going to say, and that's Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. And I know I make it a joke of how much I love her, but it is true. She does inspire me as a woman, and especially with the last few years, how she has spoken out more about political issues and women's issues, because before she was kind of forced to be silent, more or less. And in the few coming years, I've found even more inspired by her, and a few songs she's written about women's empowerment too. I just totally jam out to those because I'm like, well, finally someone's saying it, and it's a jam. It's 2 in 1. It's awesome. What about you, Kate?
That's awesome. I'm thinking I really like Kehlani as an artist. I think that she has a lot of good values in life, and she loves to kind of talk about that stuff on her social media and share inspiring things. So I just love to see women doing that. And then also, I mean, you said Taylor Swift, and I thought of Ariana Grande, because Ariana Grande is somebody who's been criticized in the media for a good portion of her life.
It's so
and just
like,
yeah.
oh my god. Like,
yeah, I feel like the
and
media
I think
just
watching
likes
people
to-
go through that from when they're young.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the media is insane.
The media
with that,
just
but when you
wants to
watch them
cause
kind of go through it
problems,
and
yeah.
then see where they are now.
Mm-hmm. It is true. I think it's also maybe
yeah, unfortunately.
part of it may be too that she, was a child star, how she was, in the Nickelodeon show Victorious, and she was put, in the spotlight at such a young age, and there's a lot of controversy with her role on that show, because
oh right,
a lot of things happen.
Honestly, all the shows produced by Dan Schneider have a bit of a kind of an edge to them now.
Yeah,
an edge to them.
An edge.
Well, perhaps that's a poor way to describe it, but there's
it's
a
just
little
funny
of
we grew up
yeah,
on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things we
But
didn't
yeah,
know.
seeing how like when you see artists overcome the criticism, I think that's pretty awesome. And Ariana's somebody who really speaks out of mental health a lot, so it's important. But what about you, Allie?
Well, I was actually going to say, I think someone that I was going to actually talk about today was Miley Cyrus, because she kind of
another star
back in 2013
oh yeah
star, and she kind of had that typical Disney star gone wild story, but people really attacked her for it, and I think that it was unjustified, because I saw this TikTok last night and it was very true. And it said there was no way I was hating on Miley in 2013 while I was twerking to her songs at the same time. And I was like, that's kind of really true. Like, everyone was acting like that back in the day, but we all just specifically attacked Miley Cyrus for no reason, because we all had this image of her being like this innocent image of Hannah Montana, but now she's not. And it really wasn't that bad. And it was just a woman being sexual in music, and we've never seen that before, and we really didn't know how to handle it. And
yeah,
I think that especially because she was a child star, people really didn't know how to handle it, and she received a lot of unfair criticism for it, but she handled it really well and is still killing it and putting out great music to this day.
Yeah, it's true. She took a whole turn with how she presented herself to society and didn't care what people thought. And people cared like so much, and I'm not even gonna say too much, because it was, one woman's choices, and the internet like exploded. How could she do this? How could she present herself this way? But it's like you all like are just fine when a guy takes his shirt off right in front of you, but a woman can't like not like do the same thing, but like express herself in that way. Like, what's the problem? there other any women in entertainment that come to mind for you, Allie?
Yeah, there's a couple. Another one I wanted to talk about was Oprah. I think that Oprah is a wonderful woman. She was the first African American woman to own her own production company, first of all, so that's great for her.
Oh, we
She's
love to see that.
And along with that, she's also TV's highest paid entertainer. And she funds battered women's shelters, and she was a major force in lobbying for the passing of the National Child Protection Act in 1994. And I think she's such a strong woman because she herself was a victim of child abuse, so she kind of used her platform to speak out on that, and she still does to this day. And I think most notably, she gave that iconic "Time Is Up" speech at the awards show a couple years ago. I think it was the Oscars, right?
Probably.
Believe so.
Yeah.
One of those.
Gave that "Time Is Up" speech, and that kind of really started a whole movement for women in media to kind of speak up and realize that you don't have to take harassment in the workplace to get further up in the workplace. Like, you're valuable for what you know, and you don't have to like do that to get up in the workplace. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Camilla and Issa were saying before, is like you have to find that drive and that passion to keep you going. And even it seems like Oprah went through like a lot of hardship and trauma in her life, and she still rose up. And then when she did and had the power to do that, she gave back as well, which I love that.
I was gonna say that's like I think Oprah's so iconic, but she works so hard to get where she is. But one of the things that I really love about her is the way she gives back, even now. Like I don't think her show's not on TV anymore, but she still gives back in other ways, and she has her own network too. Like, oh my god, she's amazing.
It's awesome. And there was one more woman I wanted to point out that's notable in the entertainment industry. Her name was Gladys Marie Smith, better known as Mary Pickford. She was America's sweetheart in the silent film era, and she was one of the 36 co-founders of the Academy of the Motion Pictures and Sciences, but was one of only 3 women that were the founders, along with Jeannie Macpherson and Bess Meredith. So that I thought that was really great to note that of the 36 founders, the 3 women, I thought that we should recognize them because they did a lot for just being women and a co-founder of the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences.
Wow.
Like when it was formed.
What era that was? Like 1900?
Wow.
Like, wow, that's
early 1900s.
early.
She was born in 1892. And the American Academy, why do I keep saying American Academy? I'm so sorry. Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences was formed in 1997. So being a woman in entertainment is hard now. Being a woman in entertainment in 1927 was even harder back then. So to be a co-founder of the Academy of Motion Sciences, I thought was really great, and I thought that was notable. Mm-hmm. And I thought something cool that I should note too is her and Constance Adams DeMille, who was the wife of filmmaker Cecil B. DeMille. They helped found the Hollywood Studio Club, which was a dormitory for young women in the motion picture industry. So in Hollywood, young women could go and stay in this dorm when they were working in the motion picture industry, and it kind of was a safe place for women to be. And I thought that was really cool to know. She just did a lot of things that were great for women in film and kind of helped pave the way and help future women get into the industry. And I thought that was dope.
That is amazing.
Right? And something else that's really cool about her, she worked really hard. I think she's an icon. In 1909, she appeared in 51 films that year. That's almost
that's scheduled.
What?
How do you do that?
That's like,
how is that even possible?
To be fair, it was in the silent film era, but that is still a lot of work.
It's still like
she's a hustler. She is an icon. We stand her.
Joke.
Man.
What?
Yeah.
We stand her.
Yes. Staging and everything.
I can barely do one assignment per week, and this
no choice.
lady was in films every week. What?
Yes. I mean, come on. That's inspiring though. Like that's amazing. I love hearing stuff like that.
was great. She was an actress, she was a writer. She did a lot for her time, and she really set the stone and set the bar for women in film. And I feel like
People like her.
without people like her, we wouldn't have the opportunities. Women wouldn't have the opportunities in film and media that we would have today. So it's really
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like we don't even talk about things like that enough too, because I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
That's something you kind of have to go out of your way to find, and it's insane.
It's like briefly, I feel like, discussed in some like communication or classes and stuff like that, but it's definitely not talked about enough, because even in school, it's there is a main focus on men instead of women, and we all know why.
it definitely there's definitely not enough recognition for women that were leading the way back then, and especially like Constance Adams DeMille. When I was reading articles about her name kept coming up as Mrs. Cecil B. DeMille instead of her name Constance Adams DeMille, and that was kind of upsetting me because her name is Constance Adams DeMille. She's known as Constance Adams, not her husband's name. That was kind of annoying me when I was researching her. That I had to go out of my way to find out her name,
Yeah, definitely. It's a different time, the way that they did that back then. But on that note, I feel like I've been saying that a lot on that note, but I really enjoyed our little discussion. I love talking about the media and entertainment and all the important people in it. But thank you, Allie and Jake, for combining your forces. And honestly, thank you to all our segment hosts for working with us and dealing with our little change. We wanted to bring you guys together to interact a little more. And I think it worked out really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed that too. But yeah, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming together to celebrate International Women's Day and Women's History Month. It's really important, especially because, so many women are part of this show and a part of WMSC in general. 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, by the way. That's the one we're talking about. Don't know if you know any others, but we have a lot of women at the station who keep it running. And of course, every person is important in the operation of anything. But today is, or this month, I should say, is a time to highlight women, their history, how far we've come. Because 100 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been allowed in the station or something like that. We wouldn't have been taken seriously if we wanted to start our own show. So me and Kayla want to share our gratitude for having these opportunities and being able to talk on a platform like this about something that's so important to us.
Yeah, and definitely just really quickly, shout out to our general manager, Annabella Poland. She's done so much in media, so I just love her.
So true. She inspires me so much. We should probably tell that to her face, but if you're listening, we love you.
But yes, thank you for a great show, everybody, and we will see you guys next week.